Alucha, the flying press attack, which just deals so much damage to these Pokemon, especially Primal Groudon, for example. And obviously, you can't understate Surprise Bite from Crobat.
Right. It's going to really set up what Primal Groudon is usually going to be having that Focus Sash to make sure that it doesn't get knocked out in one hit. Although Enrico isn't running any of the super power attack Pokemon, he's really looking to wear Pokemon down with that Hawlucha and also the Landorus. You can do that big attack on Landorus, but it really isn't a deck that's looking to do 200 in one shot.
Which is good, because even if it did 200 in one shot, it still wouldn't knock out this Groudon, right? So it seems like it's just going to slowly and methodically deal this damage to the Groudon. Meanwhile, the Groudon just tries to power itself up and just, steamroll.
Yeah, it's a very slow deck, like we said, most of them, and I believe that he is not running any of those Spirit Link decks because it takes 4 energy to get that attack powered up to do the Gaia Volcano. Might as well skip your turn in the middle of that anyway.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And pass. But yeah, now let's take a look at Alejandro's deck.
Right. And again, we've got that Primal Groudon, and he's, of course, running the Wobbuffet, which is really the card that it wants to get in those initial turns to try to set up, and it will slow down the opposing decks. And the biggest thing, of course, with that Bide Barricade, it shuts down the abilities of the opposing Pokemon. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't shut down the abilities of Psychic Pokemon.
Yeah.
Zubat, Crobat, Golbat, those are all Psychic Pokemon, so Wobbuffet doesn't impact really the big abilities that Enrico's going to be playing. He does run Shaman, though, so it will have the ability to shut that down, but it isn't going to have as much impact as he would probably hope.
Yeah, the Wobbuffet can be very effective at shutting down Shaman for sure, and it'll be interesting to see that he puts a lot of pressure on Enrico to have supporters every turn and not just rely on that Shaman power.
Right. But they are running like a ton of supporters, and we're not seeing as many of that disruption. Neither of them are running the Seismitoad or any of the other really big disruption cards, so we're going to see the players really being able to play their own game plan.
Now, don't let me interrupt you, Dylan, but it looks like we're ready to go. We're going to be seeing a How to Play Pokemon TCG video in order for you guys to learn how to play at home, and then we're going to be going straight to that match.
Sounds great.
Hello, Pokemon fans. The Pokemon trading card game has been around for over 15 years, but it's easier than ever to learn how to play. This beginner's guide will give you a quick crash course on how the game is played. Pokemon TCG is a strategic Pokemon battle experienced via collectible cards. 2 players send their Pokemon cards out onto the field, power them up using energy cards, and support their team using trainer cards. Pokemon are represented by cards in this game. Each player can have up to 6 Pokemon in play at a time. Only the active Pokemon can attack, and the others waited out on the bench. Pokemon cards that are labeled as basic Pokemon can be put onto the field immediately. Evolution cards can be played on top of basic Pokemon to give them access to stronger attacks. Attacks are fueled by energy cards. In order to use an attack, a Pokemon must have the required amount and type of energy attached to it. Players can attach only 1 energy card per turn. The energy costs for attacks range from minimal to colossal. Usually the powerful attacks require a lot of energy. Trainer cards can assist in many ways, such as drawing cards, finding a specific Pokemon, or even manipulating energy cards. Each player must use a 60-card deck in the Pokemon TCG. For players competing in the World Championships, typically over half of those cards are trainer cards. They're crucial for executing your strategy and getting the edge over the opposing player. Just like the Pokemon video games, both players take turns having their Pokemon launch attacks at each other. Every Pokemon has a certain amount of hit points, which represents how much damage you can take before being knocked out. When a Pokemon is knocked out, a Pokemon on the bench has to become the new active Pokemon to take its place in battle. The player that scores a knockout gets to draw a prize card. Drawing all of your prize cards is the most common way to win a game of Pokemon, but you can also win if your opponent has no Pokemon left in play, or if your opponent has no cards to draw at the beginning of his or her turn. We've only scratched the surface of the Pokemon TCG in this short video. Watch more of our tournaments to discover other gameplay mechanics, such as special conditions, Pokemon types, including weakness and resistance, game-changing Pokemon abilities, special energy cards, and super powerful Pokemon EX that can Mega Evolve. If you want to start playing the Pokemon TCG yourself, there are plenty of options to try. The Trainer Kit has enough cards for you and a friend to learn how to play together. You can play digitally for free by downloading the Pokemon TCG online, or you can attend local events to learn from other players and compete for prizes.
All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope it hyped you up as much as it did me, because we are getting ready to play this this top 4 competition between Enrico Durini and Alejandro Guzman.
Yep, I think the players are ready to start. I see that they're set up, so we'll be kicking that off to them, it looks like right now.
Well, there we go. All right, so how do you actually feel about this matchup, by the way, Dylan? Because I really want to get your insight into this before we start.
Well, like I said, I kind of have my own personal bias where I was the one playing the Groudon deck whenever I was testing out this format, so I'm really kind of rooting for that Groudon deck.
All right. I guess in that case, I'll take the Lucario deck. I'm a big fan of all these fighting Pokemon and their synergy with the fighting stadium and whatnot.
Right. Looks like Enrico's going first, opening with a Zubat versus Wobbuffet, but right away going to get that Lander CX out.
All right. So you see how Enrico, honestly, obviously in the first turn he can't attack, but he didn't really have too much to do, and that's normal against this Groudon deck. You don't really want to overextend your hand and overextend your resources. You really want to play it a little bit safe early on.
Right. You don't. You have a bunch of energy in this deck, but you don't have a ton of energy, and you need 4 to use that Gaia Volcano attack. So if he has a supporter in his hand, like Professor Juniper, Professor Sycamore, something that's going to dump his hand, but had way too many resources that he wanted to hold on to in his hand, he wanted to do that on Alejandro's side. But looks like he just got down to energy and a hard charm and passed back to Enrico.
Yeah, Alejandro had a really easy start as well. He just played an energy, a hard charm, passed his turn, and then right away we see Enrico come down with the Golbat's sneaky bite and get 20 damage right onto the Crobat, or onto the Groudon, sorry.
Yeah, and seeing a Hammerhead go off onto the from Landers there. Alejandro gets one of those Robo Substitutes out, and that's a card we talked about a lot yesterday. It keeps putting up that Robo Substitute, which is an item card that pretends to be a Pokemon. When it gets knocked out, your opponent doesn't get a prize card at that point.
Exactly. It's one of the most important cards in this deck because it really lets you set up. You have to spend so much time building up this Groudon, and every prize matters, right? So at this point, you just start activating Robo Substitutes. You let your opponent spend turns knocking those out, and finally you have this Groudon that you hopefully he can't deal with.
Right, and we saw Alejandro just went with that standard play of evolving to Primal Groudon without worrying about ending his turn, but he didn't attach any energy that turn, so not exactly what he was looking for. That deck is slow enough as is without skipping an energy attachment.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate for him. He did get the Primal Groudon, but it's not as important as getting another energy. I guess it's just as important. But every turn matters when it comes to this deck, and you only have so many Robo Substitutes. Your Wobbuffet can only take so much damage before it gets knocked out. So you really want to be able to attach your energies every turn and start attacking on turn 4.
Right, so we're seeing Enrico playing an Ultra Ball, discarding a Bunnelby. Both players actually playing one Bunnelby. Like we mentioned previously in this stream, that's that ultimate Wailord's safety valve that you can put in your deck just in case you go up against one of these incredible stall-out decks that try to run you out of cards. That Bunnelby will keep you back in, but both these players are seeing that they're not going to be facing that, so they're going to get rid of those Bunnelbys pretty early on.
You see Enrico actually Ultra Balling for a Shaman, which is a little surprising considering Wobbuffet's in play.
Right. I'm not sure if he doesn't quite realize that or if he's just hoping that he'll be knocking out that Wobbuffet soon and be able to play the Shaman. It can be a real shame if you miss that your Shaman setup isn't going to work. You waste that big ability. Looks like he knows what's going on here, though.
Yeah. And Enrico now at this point wants to... Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He missed that he can't play the setup. That's going to be really huge. He clearly went for that because he didn't have much for supporters. I do see a Colress in his hand. But yeah, he's going to not get that set up. That is a huge misplay from Enrico, unfortunately.
Obviously, it definitely is. And it's really unfortunate for him because his hand was really subpar to begin with. And if he would have been able to hold that Shaman for a couple of turns in order to knock out the Wobbuffet first, then maybe he would have been in much better shape.
Right.
But as it stands, he has to hope his opponent starts missing energy drops in order to make up for this crucial mistake.
Although it looks like Alejandro just played Computer Search for a strong energy and had or the Professor Juniper had one in his hand, went and got the other one. So he's getting a big draw here. So he's going to be able to start doing a bunch to take over what he needs.
Yeah, Wobbuffet's not a Pokemon that you're really used to playing against very often because it really only belongs in this Groudon deck. So I can understand Enrico's mistake, especially if he's not used to playing against Groudon, because, I mean, honestly, how often do you see a Wobbuffet in play?
Right. And it's the same thing with that Silent Lab card. There's just these, you got to make sure that you're always paying attention to what your opponent has on the board. Enrico does have that Colress, though, so he isn't going to be on no cards. He's going to get, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 cards off of that Colress, so that's a pretty decent Colress for him to draw. And so, yeah, he can recover somewhat from that unfortunate Shaman mishap.
Yeah, and that was a huge draw for him in order to get that Colress and really replenish his hand. He really needed that, and that's exactly what's going to bring him back into this game at this point.
Yeah, so Alejandro on the last turn attached a strong energy to kind of that primary primal Groudon he's got building up, and then did the primal reversion to that other primal Groudon as well. So he's kind of skipped both of his turns that he needs to get both of the Pokemon he wants in play there.
Yeah. By the way, something really important here is the fact that the Hard Charm's been mitigating so much damage. The Hard Charm's mitigated, I want to say, 60 damage at this point?
Right. Because the Hammerhead does 30 damage to a Pokemon on the bench, and that Hard Charm has just been sitting there and absorbing that damage. That's why it's so important to get those big, important defensive tools onto your Primal Groudon. And if you look at Alejandro's board, both of them have a Hard Charm. And he also saw that those Zubats and Golbats were coming down, so he probably isn't even worried that much about getting a Focus Sash out.
And it looks like he's finding another Wobbuffet with his Ultra Ball, which means that he's not quite ready to give up this lock quite yet. And a Versus Seeker from Alejandro at this point is going to find him another Juniper, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's a great start for Alejandro, to make up for the fact that he missed an energy drop a couple turns ago.
Right. He maybe not completely be sure on what the Wobbuffet's going to do for him, because I believe that Enrico's actually played everything, although since he is playing the Golbat, Grobat, etc., he is going to have the Scoop Ups in his hand, which will let him pick up that Shaman. So by having the Wobbuffet active, he's going to maintain the ability to keep setup from working.
That's right. And now we see a third energy come into play for Alejandro as he passes the turn. One turn away from finally starting to attack.
Right. Soon he'll have the power of a fully armed and operational Primal Groudon, and that's really going to be the turning point in this game, where you see this deck doing almost nothing, just turn after turn after turn, and then comes in and starts hitting for, massive damage each turn.
We have yet to see an actual stadium come into play yet. So we do need to see a steady stream of stadiums from Alejandro from this point on in order to really maximize his damage and start knocking out these big EXs.
Right. That guy Volcano Attack only does the extra damage if you discard a stadium in play. And so if you don't have that, they don't quite do enough. And that might even be a strategy that Enrico is taking, of intentionally not playing stadium cards, because the stadiums he plays are going to be that fighting stadium. That's going to help Alejandro just as much, if not more, because he gets to do that.
That's right. And now the Hawlucha gets an energy attached to it. That's another thing, is we hadn't really seen any energy drops from Enrico, and we were stating how important it is for Alejandro to miss them, to not miss them. But Enrico obviously wants to get some energy in play as well in order to really keep this stream of attacks going. Right.
So on that turn, Enrico knocked out a Robo Substitute. Didn't get a prize card for it, of course, because it's not actually a Pokemon. But Alejandro is now kind of moving full power. Plays a startling Megaphone to get rid of the Focus Sash on that Hawlucha. Gets a Stadium out. Does the big guy Volcano. Is going to take 2 prize cards from knocking out that Landorus EX.
Man, 2 prize cards right away with the Gaia Volcano. That's exactly the kind of power that Primal Groudon has, and he's displaying it right now with that timely Stadium.
Right, and now he's even lucky enough that he's going up against a Hawlucha that he doesn't even need to discard a Stadium right now if he keeps that in play. So all of Enrico's Pokemon that aren't EX Pokemon, except if he gets all the way up to Crobat, have less than 100 HP. But then if they are EX Pokemon, then Alejandro can start dropping those Stadiums for the extra damage he needs.
That's right. And Enrico did land a Super Scoop Up Heads in order to be able to scoop up his Golbat in order to evolve the other Zubat that he had in play. So a nice little play by Enrico gets 20 more damage onto the Primal Groudon. Remember that Hard Charm does not stop the ability from Golbat and Crobat.
Right, so you see 110 damage on that Primal Groudon already, so it's only got 130 left, which is more than the Pokemon it's facing against right now. But that Hawlucha is going to get some serious damage on the Primal Groudon and only give up 1 prize in return. And if you look on Alejandro's board, his benched Primal Groudon doesn't have any energy yet. So he's got a long road. If this Primal Groudon does get knocked out over the next couple turns, he'll have a big lead, but then he's going to have a lot to catch up.
Yeah, and keep in mind that that's the end of the Groudons after these two, at least for the time being, right? So we do see Alejandro kind of have a timeline in order to be able to win this game. Even though this Groudon is going to take 3 prizes at least, we're going to see it start to struggle at this point on because it can easily get knocked out. Right.
And he's only running, I think, 9 total energy in his deck, so he can only really maintain a second Primal Groudon attacking. And at that point, he's going to start having issues because I don't think he's running any kind of energy recycling.
Actually, I believe Alejandro has 12, and it's Enrico that only plays 9.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So with Enrico only playing 9, the actual the pressure's on Enrico to be able to maximize his energy drops. But Alejandro can attack up to 3 different Groudons.
Right.
It's a little difficult to attack with that third one, but hey, it can happen.
Yeah, if you have any prized, it's not going to work out. And again, we see that flying press go down. Brings Primal Groudon up to 190 damage, so it's hurting. But he finally gets that first energy on that benched Primal Groudon and plays a Juniper, discarding an energy, but looking for some more resources there.
That's right. And keep in mind that if Enrico manages to evolve both a Zubat into a Golbat and a Golbat into a Crobat, that he's going to be able to knock out this Primal Groudon without even attacking anymore. So that's also going to be very important because it's going to stop the amount of turns that the Robo Substitute can really take into effect here.
Right. Primal Groudon did knock out that Hawlucha, took another prize and discarded Enrico's Stadium, which he was using to do the extra damage onto that. But we see
there's a Crobat.
Yeah,
all he needs is a Golbat at this point in order to not... And that's a Golbat that the Groudon does go down.
Yep.
And that's the end of that Groudon. And we're left with only a single Groudon in play with, I believe, only 1 energy.
Yeah, he's only got the 1 energy. He has Primal reverted it already. We do see at least 1 in his hand. Looks like he's got a strong energy there. And we see the... Robo Substitute come up for Alejandro to make sure that he has a couple turns where he's not going to have any issues.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe I'm seeing this right now. We're going to see a Bunnelby get into the action here. He's taken the time to, I guess, to just manipulate his opponent. And he says, all right, you have some Robo Substitutes in play. I'll take a little bit of time and start burrowing your deck away.
Right.
How about that one?
Bunnelby has that Omega Barrage attack, which allows it, or Omega Barrage Ancient Trait, allows it to attack twice. And so he was able to use that Burrow attack to put the top 2 cards of Alejandro's deck into his discard pile. He doesn't really want to, knocking out the Robo Substitute doesn't do much for him right now. So it looks like he was trying to take advantage of Alejandro's slightly thinning deck there. But we see a big Mega Turbo come out for him.
Yeah, that Mega Turbo really mitigates the damage that Enrico just dealt to him with these Crobats and Golbats, right? And now he's 1 energy away from being able to attack again. And this Bunnelby, oh man, is it going to backfire on him? Is the amount of pressure that he's not putting on actually going to matter here?
It really could. If he knocked out that Robo Substitute, it would have taken 1 turn away that Alejandro could hide behind it. I don't know that he's actually going to be able to get through his deck fast enough for that to matter. So you see him drop.
Hold on, a super scoop up here in order to be able to scoop up the Crobat. It does not work.
Yep. Oh, but he's got another one. So another big super scoop up.
I believe that's a heads.
Tails.
No. Okay.
Yeah, that's
a
one.
Got excited for no reason.
But yeah, so doing the scoop ups, trying to do that bat dance where you pick up your Golbat from one and your Crobat from one, put it onto the other Zubat or the other Crobat, and you can get those out there. Plays a big Stadium and another Professor here, though.
Yeah, now the Professor Sycamore is going to draw him a fresh hand of 7 without having to discard a single card. But keep in mind that he's only attaching energies in order to this Hawlucha because he doesn't have any other fighting Pokemon in play to start powering up. So that's actually going to be putting all of your eggs into this Hawlucha basket, which is, as cool as it is, it doesn't really do anything against these Robo Substitutes. So I guess he's just forced to keep burrowing here.
Right. He can't attack the Robo Substitute with the Hawlucha because it only can damage Pokemon EX.
Exactly.
And he doesn't have any... So Strong Energy can't go onto Shaman, so he can't... Or onto his Crobats either, so he can't use those to use their attacks to get rid of that Robo Substitute. So the only option he has right now is to be running that Bunnelby.
Okay, so Enrico does Ultra Ball for a Crobat here, and he's going to be able to Crobat and actually knock out the Robo Substitute if he wants to, but I'm not even sure if he wants to do that at this point. He might need to just keep putting the damage onto the Groudon and hope that he runs a little bit better with these Super Scoop Ups.
Right. We see some normal we see some normal fighting energies in his hand, so maybe he can start doing some Sky Returns with his Shaman to take out those Robo Substitutes, but for this turn, he's just going to do 2 more Burrows.
A Sacred Ash gets Ratatouille back into the deck. That Rototiller ability or attack actually can bring back any card from your discard pile onto your deck, and that's really important, man. That's how you bring these resources back into your deck and be able and can keep this consistent stream of attacks.
Right. That's part of the flexibility of that Bundle B with the Omega Barrage. You can do so. He did 1 Burrow and 1 Rototiller that turn, so he was able to wear down Alejandro's deck a little bit, and then also put a card back in his deck he felt was important.
Now Alejandro knocks out his own Robo Substitute. It's time for the Groudon to come play. And as Lysander over here gets this Hawlucha into the active position and knocks it out, Alejandro is 2 prizes away from winning this first game.
Yeah, and looks like he's really got it locked up. Enrico doesn't have anything out that's going to do any kind of damage, and that Primal Groudon still has almost, not quite, but almost 200 HP left. He's not going to be able to get enough Crobats and Golbats down to put damage counters on there. Even a Sky Return won't help at this point. Even if he got a new Hawlucha out, it would only be doing 60, maybe 80 damage with a strong energy or a muscle band there.
Okay, so Enrico actually had a Karina in order to find any fighting Pokemon and any item in his deck. However, he was out of fighting Pokemon, and he had to find only that Sacred Ash that he brought into his deck at the end of his last turn. So now he's going to get these fighting Pokemon back into his deck, but it's 1 turn too late.
Yeah, that's really going to be like an unfortunate misstep there. He's going to shuffle those back in there with the Sacred Ash. And again, but his deck is pretty small as well at this point, so he's got a good chance of picking up those Pokemon. But with that fully powered Primal Groudon on the other side, I just don't see how he's going to be able to power through that.
I'm not sure if he's going to be able to win the damage race. So instead, he goes with the Bundle B race, right?
Yeah, exactly. He might just have to completely see if he can floor it on trying to deck out his opponent instead. But yeah, he's putting something on his benched Crobat there. He's gonna, but then he's just gonna go again for that Burrow attack.
Yeah, Burrow does deal quite a bit of damage over time, but there we go. Another Lysander gets up the Shaman EX, gets the last 2 prizes. Alejandro wins game 1 here, and he's 1 game away from going to the finals in the junior divisions of the trading card game.
Yeah, that Primal Groudon just has such inevitability behind it. And again, the other great thing about Primal Groudon, you're skipping your turn when you do that Mega Evolution / Primal Reversion, but it has its own ancient trait. It has that Omega Barrier, which means that your opponent can't do something like Lysander to bring it up while you're just sitting it on the bench. So even when it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to do it otherwise, you always want to Primal Revert pretty much as soon as you can to protect that Primal Groudon on the bench and just let it sit back and slowly get that energy on, and then eventually it comes up and just those Gaia Volcanoes are going to be pounding.
Yeah, it's incredibly important to Primal Evolve as early as turn 2 in order to stop your opponent from being able to Lysander and really mess with your plans, right? You want this Groudon to be able to sit happily in the bench and power itself up, because we saw just how effective it truly is at attacking, especially when your opponent can't really damage it.
Right.
He had a really hard time knocking out the first Groudon. The second Groudon was just impossible at that point.
Yeah, he'd used so many of his Crobats and Golbats at that point, putting the damage counters out on the benched ones, and he was able to get it there by finally a big flying press at the end there. But right. Yeah, it just he had used so much to get down the 1. 240 HP is just a lot to chew through when you're doing 20, 30 at a time.
We saw Enrico use Bundle B, for example, and now it makes sense. I mean, he used it because it was the last Pokemon in his deck, so he was like, well, it's either that or not attack. So
right, because of the energy that he had in his hand at that point, none of the Pokemon he had that could attack a Robo Substitute could actually take any of the energy, and none of the Pokemon that could he had energy for could do that attack. So yeah, he only really could play that Bundle B at that point. And you saw what he did there, and if he would have been able to maybe do that a turn earlier with the Rototiller, maybe he would have been able to get some fighting Pokemon in there earlier. Although Alejandro, we saw play those back-to-back Lysanders, probably wouldn't have even mattered at that point.
Yeah, I believe we saw a mulligan from Alejandro here, and That's not very uncommon when all you have is, I believe, 9 basic Pokemon.
Right. Actually 7 basic Pokemon, right. I think both players actually had a mulligan there. And then we're seeing another one from Enrico and another one from Alejandro. So a double mulligan again. So both of these players having to reshuffle and reset up again. So hopefully they can find a basic Pokemon soon. That's one aspect about the Pokemon trading card game that new players to the game don't necessarily understand, that when you're setting up for the first time, you have to have a basic Pokemon in your hand. And then if you do have a basic Pokemon in your hand, then that's when you stop. You don't have any kind of optional mulligan in the Pokemon trading card game. It is all defined by the setup rules of the game.
Which is why having very strong basic Pokemon is so important, because you don't want to get stuck with something like a Shaman EX, for example, as your basic.
Oh, man.
And
Alejandro
another mulligan
again.
from Alejandro, but Enrico finally found his Pokemon.
Right.
And that means he's going to get to draw an extra card because of Alejandro's mulligan.
Right. Every time your opponent mulligans, you get to draw an extra card at the start of the game. And so having a very low count of basic Pokemon in your deck can be detrimental, because giving your opponent extra cards is almost never something you want to do.
Going back to the fact that you said that Alejandro had a good matchup against Enrico, or at least that you really like Groudon.
I do like
one or the other. I can't help but say that you're right. You know, that matchup just seems defined by Groudon's HP.
Right. And what we said earlier, by being able to use those bats, he was able to make the Focus Sash a non-issue, but Alejandro just went with the different tools there, like the Hard Charm to defend against the Hammerhead. Looks like we finally do have things started, and I think we saw the same start as last game, Zubat versus Wobbuffet.
Yeah. Let's hope that Enrico does not use his Shaman a little prematurely there, because that was one of the big reasons why he fell so far behind, and because he had that extra bench spot always used up by that Shaman. And remember, it got Lysandered up to end the game.
Right, and that was a big sting. I don't think he'll forget that anytime soon. We see Enrico play a Repeat Ball right away. Repeat Ball, an incredibly good card in these decks with these Zubats lines, because you can get one out and then you start using Repeat Ball to start getting multiple chains up. And you see him going straight for the Bunnelby, maybe thinking that there's no way that I'm going to be able to out-damage this Groudon, and it's going to spend so much time powering up this Groudon, maybe I can burn through the deck and put some important cards in the discard pile instead of just trying to fight it through damage.
Yeah, maybe so. He does know that the Wobbuffet is kind of just stuck there for a while. It has 2 retreats, so that's potentially a very good strategy. We'll have to wait and see if it really works out for him. Keep in mind that he also just wants to get a bunch of Zubats in play, but besides that, he's pretty much done.
Right. So it's going to be over to Alejandro's turn here very soon. Yeah. Enrico gets the free retreat because Zubat has that free flight ability, and so it can use its ability because it's Psychic Pokemon. Wobbuffet doesn't shut off Psychic Pokemon. And Enrico can attack because he went first. And we go over to Alejandro, who's playing an Ultra Ball and getting that initial Groudon on his bench.
Yeah, I believe the nerves are getting a little bit of the better of Enrico in this moment, because he tried to attack with the Bunnelby for a second. But it is the first turn of the game, and it being so, he couldn't attack. Now, at this point, Alejandro's very quick turn just means, hey, look, strong energy on my Groudon just to deal that extra 20 damage. That's completely irrelevant and unnecessary, but hey, he'll deal it. And that's the end of his turn right there after a Robo Substitute.
Right. He didn't have much to put out, but he got an energy attached to his Groudon, and he's just starting that steady march. And Enrico is going to go with a kind of really unique plan here, and he is. He's just going to be running Burrow as hard as he can. We did see 2 Golbats come down on the bench, though. He got some damage on that Groudon. Here's another energy, and then a Professor Juniper.
Yeah, now actually, do you notice how he played a fighting energy onto the Golbat? Maybe he's thinking, check this out. I'm going to be evolving to a Crobat, dealing 30 more damage to the Groudon that way, and then I'm going to start attacking with a Crobat to deal 30 more damage to your Groudon from that point on, while your Wobbuffet's in the active position. But an Escape Rope does stop that plan. Right.
Although almost all of the Pokemon on Enrico's side have free retreat, so he can set up pretty much whatever he wants there. But yeah, that Robo Substitute up there going to be trying to slow down Enrico if he's doing any damage. But I think Enrico's taking the complete left door plan on this one.
Alejandro quickly plays the Escape Rope. He's like, "Whoa, no! This Bunnelby is dealing a little bit too much damage here. I want to get the Wobbuffet out of the active position." I don't blame him. And now as Enrico evolves to the Crobat, putting 3 more damage counters onto that Groudon, and this game feels like it's going much, much better for Enrico this time around.
Yeah, he's got a little better setup there initially. He didn't waste that Shaman, and also he's just kind of taken a completely alternate tack here. I mean, we see him. He's got that Shaman in his hand now. And Wobbuffet is no longer active, but it looks like Alejandro does have that stadium in play.
Yeah.
The Silent Lab.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons why Alejandro decided to use the escape rope right there, because he already had the Silent Lab in hand anyway. So he just wanted to be able to make sure that he stopped the Shaman from drawing him extra cards.
Right. Silent Lab stops abilities. You might think it stops abilities on all Pokemon, but it only stops them on basic Pokemon. But again, that helps shut down the Shaman. We have 3 main cards in the format right now that shut down abilities with Silent Lab, Wobbuffet, and Garbodor, and they all shut down different classes of abilities, so you always have to be careful with those cards around.
Yeah, that's where card knowledge really comes into play, and we see how Enrico has to face 2 of these different cards in this matchup.
Right, and always got to make sure you're paying attention to which each one of those does. He ends his turn with another double burrow, really just trying to push Alejandro down to no cards, but Alejandro comes up and uses just the plain old Rip Claw on Groudon.
This is a big play by Alejandro. He decides that he does not need that extra hit points from the Groudon, and he just wants to get that quick knockout into the penalty. He does not want to. He does not want to get burrowed to basically to the end.
Right. So he also didn't have. It looks like he did not have an energy to attach that turn. And another Golbat coming down here, getting some damage counters on that Shaman. Shaman on that Wobbuffet, who stops Shaman, and Enrico now has his active Hawlucha with a strong energy against the Groudon, who only has 180 HP. So suddenly that Alejandro's side of the board is in a bit of danger.
Yeah, Alejandro's in danger of having no energy in play, right? Only a Wobbuffet and a couple of Robo substitutes, not even a Groudon at all. This is very important, and this is actually critical. It seems like Enrico is taking a very dominant position in this game out of the blue.
Yeah, Enrico might have been employing a little bit of magician's trickery there, putting out the Bumblebee and burrowing cards away, all the while secretly putting those damage counters onto the Groudon with his Crobats and Golbats, and setting up this knockout that really no one was expecting, because he was very, very forcefully trying to get through the deck, and Alejandro might have been focused on that. He had to bring up the Groudon and go for the Rip Claw, but then he gets to play that super powerful Teammates card.
Yeah, Teammates is a card that really rewards you for losing. As your opponent knocks out your Pokemon, at least you get a supporter that lets you choose any 2 cards in your deck and put them into your hand. That's extremely strong, especially in a situation where you really need to come back because you have no energy in play, you have no real anything in play. So very important for Alejandro as he attaches a Hard Charm and a strong energy onto his fresh Groudon.
Right, so he's got to get a Groudon going. He's got to get back up to Primal Groudon. Well, he hasn't been at Primal Groudon in this game. And Enrico now kind of has the big push and can just start flooring it with his other Pokemon. But now he's in that situation where his Hawlucha can't do damage because Wobbuffet is an EX Pokemon. But he does have that energy on the Crobat back there, so he can start doing Skill Dive if he wants to.
That's right. Skill Dive is a rarely used attack, but very effective in situations like this one where you kind of would just want your opponent's Wobbuffet to stick in the active position. Remember, he's already used 1 Escape Rope. He doesn't have that many switching cards. I believe he's got 2 switches left in his deck, and I don't even see a Floatstone, so I believe it's just 2 switches left in the deck if he hasn't used them already. Right.
So Enrico also gets a Landorus and a strong energy on that Landorus setup, so he can do kind of a more straightforward attack as well if he needs to. Again, also starting to he could start taking out those Robo substitutes to ensure that Alejandro doesn't get to get extra turns down there, or he could start plinking away at that Groudon.
Another Crobat comes into play, and that's another 30 damage. Now, this time onto the fresh Groudon. Groudon takes its first damage of the game, and it's time for the Hammerheads.
Yeah, so he's putting on that, and he's going straight for the Groudon, so hoping to just reduce the amount of time that he'll have to deal with the Groudon. But it only takes 10 from that Hammerhead because of the Hard Charm, and we see Alejandro, his turn, not that great. All he did was Primal Evolve. He didn't even get another energy attached on that Primal Groudon.
That is really brutal for Alejandro. Nothing seems to be going his way this game, as opposed to last game. And now Enrico, honestly, just playing energies onto the Crobats because he doesn't really have any other targets, and he's very content with just hammerheading away here.
Right. Again, only putting the one energy or the one damage counter on Groudon because of the hard charm. He's going to want to protect that Halucha so he can do some big flying presses at the end. And looks like Alejandro's going to be versus Seekering probably for a teammates again.
Yeah, versus Seeker.
Oh, for Karina.
This time he finds a Karina. He probably wants to get...
He's got to get Primal Groudon out.
That's right. He gets a Primal Groudon and likely, I don't know, an Ultra Ball or something like that. No, he gets a Professor's Letter in order to find himself some fighting energies.
Right. So he gets the Professor's Letter. He's taking kind of a player shortcut here. He's taking that Professor's Letter and then immediately going to take the 2 energies he's getting for it, so he doesn't have to search and shuffle his deck an additional time. Sometimes players will do that just to save time because shuffling your deck multiple times in between cards like that doesn't really do anything.
Now, this wall of Robo Substitutes is going to be effective at letting him power up this Groudon, but remember that we do see things like Mega Turbo in order to surprise Enrico here and start attacking a little bit earlier than Enrico would like. Right,
so he's up to 2 energy, and again, Enrico right away very quickly knocks out that Robo Substitute with a Hammerhead.
And here is going to bring Enrico down to a 3-card hand, meanwhile giving Alejandro 5 new ones. This is a big end because it could give Enrico a dead hand at 3 cards.
Right, and not only that, but Alejandro attached that other energy from his Professor's Letter. Now, if he finds a Mega Turbo here and has a fighting energy in his discard pile, he could suddenly have a ready-to-go Primal Groudon.
I'm not sure that he has well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think he's just got 2 Strongs in there.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have actually worked, but he could have also had something like Ultra Ball or some other card to help him get energy in his discard pile at this point.
We saw Alejandro go through his discard pile. Maybe that's what he was looking for himself, and he probably did not find any fighting energies, and that's the end of that next Robo Substitute. We see the Primal Groudon now get 7 damage on it, or 70 damage on it, and a Karina here from Alejandro is going to likely let him start attacking from this point on.
Looks like he's going, not even getting a fighting Pokemon with Karina, just going for the Mega Turbo. It looks like he did have 1 fighting energy in his discard pile, and so he's going to attach that, and it's time for Gaia Volcano.
Very nice. So he does have the fighting energy in his discard pile. Maybe he got burned away, who knows? And the Primal Groudon starts Gaia Volcanoing here, and that's quickly going to bring him back into this game. Remember, all he needed to do was start attacking with a Groudon.
Right. Again, just like why I love this deck so much, it's just inevitable. There's almost nothing that Enrico could do. With that hard charm, the Hammerheads were only putting 1 damage counter on at a time. He was putting all the damage from his Cobrats and Golbats on there, and he still is only up to 90 damage counters on it, or 90 damage on it. 150 damage still able to be used up on that Primal Groudon. He's even going to be taking a big flying press here. Oh, he puts another strong energy to try to get even more damage on there. So that's going to be 100 damage from that flying press.
Enrico does the math here and decides to attach another strong energy. But remember that he does have a Focus Sash on his Halucha, so that could be pivotal here in order to keep it.
Oh, except Alejandro plays his Karina, goes and gets the startling Megaphone, is going to surprise all the Pokemon on Enrico's side, make them drop their tool cards.
He has yet to play the Startling Megaphone. There he goes.
Yep.
Startling Megaphone onto that Halucha is going to get knocked out. And there goes 2 strong energy to go with that Halucha.
Right. And so Groudon has now got 170 damage on it. Getting 70 more damage on it on Enrico's turn is going to be really hard. Alejandro is definitely going to be able to knock out almost anything that Enrico has up, provided that he can find a stadium, because I think he only has 1 strong energy on there.
There we go. The Crobat comes down, putting 30 more damage onto that Primal Groudon. He also attaches a Muscle Band. A Scoop-Up Cyclone is going to let the Crobat get scooped up. He plays a Zubat, puts a Golbat down, putting 20 more damage onto that Primal Groudon. And oh my goodness, did he really just pull this off right now?
He did. He put a Muscle Band on that Crobat, so he was able to do a skill dive for extra damage. And now all of a sudden, Alejandro really has to rush. He's got to get that Primal Groudon. He's got to get that Groudon on his bench ready to go. I don't know if he even necessarily needs to go all the way up to Primal Groudon, but he would definitely prefer that. He's got to get those energy attached. Oh, look at that! All that energy in his hand. He's going to be so excited for that.
A computer search here from Alejandro. Maybe it'll find him a Mega Turbo or something like that. Enrico had a huge turn this last turn, and that brought him right back into this game. Did you see how much damage he pulled up out of nowhere with these bats?
Yeah, we did the math and we looked at it. We're like, yeah, it looks like everything's cool here. But yeah, bam, right away. So many bats, and then that additional damage from the muscle band really helped him out. Alejandro does get a second energy onto his Groudon. Primal reverts it. He also played, I believe he played Shrine of Memories, and that's going to allow him to use the lower attacks from his regular Groudon if he needs to. And so he can still use Ripclaw if he needs to without having 4 energy on there.
Can Enrico really pull this off? He still needs to knock out one more Groudon. That's 3 Groudons that he would have to knock out in order to win this game.
Yeah, and that's going to be a ton of damage he needs, but he does have a Hawlucha with another Focus Sash on it. Oh, here comes the Mega Turbo, but he's still got the Focus Sash, so that Hawlucha will be set at 10 HP if he doesn't have anything to get rid of that.
Yeah, there was no startling Megaphone this time around. So we do see the Hawlucha survive this attack because of that Focus Sash, and that's another 40 damage that he gets to deal here.
Right. So but
a super scoop up here.
He
Looks like it's
misses
a
that.
Tails. Oh man, that was going to be crucial because that was going to bring a Crobat right back.
Yeah, so Enrico is trying to figure out, it looks like he might be trying to keep his Hawlucha up for another turn, maybe try to get another chance to, I don't know if he has yet another Focus Sash in his deck or not, but yeah, he's going to bring up that Crobat and go for the Skill Dive.
Yeah, now you see at this point how the deck starts to fail at dealing enough damage because, man, these Groudons are... my goodness. A Pokemon Center lady heals 60 damage away from the Primal Groudon. At this point, you have to believe it's going to be impossible for Enrico to knock out one more Groudon.
Right. Enrico has already dealt with 480 HP of Primal Groudon and had another 240 HP of Primal Groudon to go through. Pokemon Center Lady does another 60 damage, which means that he will have to, if he does it, put through 780 damage onto Primal Groudons in this game.
Oh, a stadium comes down, a timely stadium. Alejandro takes his final 2 prizes and advances to the finals of the Pokemon Trading Card Game Junior Division.
Yeah, the inevitability of that Primal Groudon deck. Oh, look at the look on his face. He's so happy. These juniors have such a great time. And so, yeah, this is really great to see. But, I mean, big congratulations to Enrico as well. I mean, top 4 in the world. Just incredible. Going to be taking home that big $7,500 scholarship.
We saw Enrico bounce back from a awful game 1 to really put on a show this game 2. He brought the match to, honestly, he brought all of us to our on our toes, and it could have been anybody's game. That game 2 where he just pulled off that knockout on that Groudon out of nowhere surprised everybody, and it could have easily gone his way, and we could have easily seen a game 3 here.
Yeah. We see Alejandro up there with his buddies, with Primal Groudon up there, the old mascot, watching himself take down the big semifinal game. Super excited. Yeah, so these kids are just so much fun to watch. But it's really great seeing the decks that they play and seeing really kind of a unique deck coming out of Enrico. Like not really a standard cookie cutter deck, but and really did some really interesting things. Had that chance with the Bumblebee trying to run him through cards and leaving the Wobbuffet up there for a while. But yeah, just that inevitability of Primal Groudon is really hard to deal with.
Once again, huge congratulations to Enrico for making it this far. But huge congratulations to Alejandro as well, who is now 1 win away from being the world champion in this junior division.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to go to the secondary match right now.